Algebra 2, this is your review for test 1 through 35. Start off by looking at what kind of question you'll see for number 1. On question number 1, you're going to receive a matrix. It'll be a 2 by 2 matrix. You're going to multiply it by an unknown matrix and get a known matrix. So just for instance, let's say this is 2, -4. Let's say -4 and 2. Let's call this one over here 2, 4, 4, and -2. Okay? We want to solve for x, the unknown matrix. Okay? In order to, does anybody know the process in their calculators for how to do this or how this would appear on paper? Okay, solving for x, right? Let's say that this is what we would call matrix A times matrix X equals matrix B, okay? If I'm solving for matrix X in a normal equation, what would I do with A to solve for X? I would divide by A. But because this is a matrix, I don't divide by A. What do I do? No. Multiply by the inverse. So I multiply by the inverse of matrix A by matrix B. So what work am I going to show here? I'm going to show that X equals, okay, 2, -4, -4, 2, inverse matrix B. So that's giving me 2, 4, 4, -2. And that's going to equal, right, that's good. It should give me my answer in my calculator. Okay, can you guys do that? You guys know how to get the inverse matrix? Okay, so you're going to set up matrix A, you're going to set up matrix B, right? And whenever I go, I'm going to multiply, so I'm going to go in, I'm going to select matrix A, I'm going to hit the inverse key, right? You guys know where that is on your calculator? And then I'm going to go back in, I'm going to select matrix B, right? So it'll look in my calculator, it'll look like this before I hit enter. Does that make sense? That's what it'll look like. So hopefully everybody knows what they're doing there. All right. Question number 2. You need to know the equation of a vertical line or a horizontal line. Okay, so let's say that I've got something, let's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 2, 3, 4, 5, and I've got a line down here. What is the equation of that line? Why -5? This isn't an inequality. y equals -5. Very good. Okay? It could also be something like this, right? What's the equation of that green line? X equals 4. So you need to be prepared for anything horizontal or vertical, okay? All right, and know the difference. All right. Let's see, on number 3, it's going to want you to find the zeros of this quadratic function. It's going to say something like f of x equals, let's say, 64x squared minus 25. Find the zeros. Okay, where do I start with this? What do you notice about these two numbers? They are perfect squares. Okay? Do we notice anything missing from the equation? There's no x value, right? So I have a perfect square, x squared, minus a perfect square constant. So what's the square root of 64? 8x. Okay, what's the square root of 25? 5. Or plus minus, either way. Okay? All right. So what should I do after I've done this? Each of them set each of them equal to 0, but just to make sure that I've actually factored it correctly, what should I do? FOIL it, right? What's 8x times 8x? 64x squared. What's 8x times 5? 40x. What's negative 5 times 8x? All right, does that explain why there's no x? What happened to the x values? They canceled out. What's negative 5 times 5? Negative 25. So, did we get the right answer? All right, so now we're going to do what Angelique said. We're going to say 8x minus 5 equals 0, and 8x plus 5 equals 0. Okay? Now what? Add 5 over here. All right, so I got 8x equals 5. Divide by 5. Divide by 8. So x equals 5/8, right? What about over here? Minus 5 from both sides. All right, 8x equals negative 5. Divide by 8 on both sides. X equals negative 5/8. So my answer could very well be x equals positive or negative 5/8. Let's make that a little bit easier to find. Do we understand the process there? Now, this is what I want you to keep in mind. All right, is that I expect, especially where we're going over questions that are directly associated with stuff that's on the test, the work that I'm showing you here is the work I expect to see tomorrow. Okay? Some of you guys know this stuff, but you do a really poor job of showing me. Okay? So if I'm going to give you stuff that's this close to the test, I expect really good work. Does that make sense? Okay. What are we? Are we on? We're on 4. I don't know why I thought we were. All right. 4. 4. Okay. All right. They're going to give you an equation, or a system of equations, something like 2x minus 4y equals 4. They'll give you something like negative 6x plus 14y equals 2. Okay? They want you to write the matrix equation of the system. So basically what they do is a little different than kind of what I've showed you, but it won't change your answer. But you would get 2, negative 4, negative 6, 14 times your xy equation equals your solution equation of 4 and 2. But here's the thing, you're going to see this answer on all 4 possibilities. What you really need to do is solve for x and y. Okay? So this will be the same for all 4. The difference between the 4 answers is actually what does x equal, what does y equal. And there's a lot of different ways that we could do that, right? Right, now the way that this is set up right here would indicate, well, I'm going to take that inverse of matrix A, okay, times matrix B to get my x and y. And you could certainly do that. But there's a lot of different ways. You could solve your x and y using elimination, right? You could get them into slope-intercept form and solve that way. You could use Kramer's rule. I am less concerned about how you get x and y, okay? I am concerned that you solve for x and y, okay? And you show me how, okay? Anything you plug in your calculator, you need to tell me what it is that you're plugging in your calculator. Do you understand me? Okay, if you want credit, show me. Okay, we are in Missouri. I am a Missourian. I want to be shown. Okay, you want credit? Prove it. All right, does this make sense? We know what we're expected here? Yeah. All right. All right. All right. They're going to talk about a high school that's going to say that there are, let's say, 8 science teachers and 16 English teachers. It's a big school. Okay. If each student has to take one, one science class and one English class, how many possible combinations of teachers are there? Add them. So just 8 plus 16? No. All right. Let's think about this illustratively. Let's say that this is a red circle and this is a green circle, right? Okay, so there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, right? Now, once I pick one of these science teachers, how many English teachers do I have to pick from? 16. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 for each one. Yeah, be 16 times 8. Okay, fundamental counting principle. Actually, no, it's not that. Is it? Yeah, it'd be 16 times 8. Let me check on these. So 16 times 8 comes out to? There's 128 teacher combinations. Okay? We understand that question? On something like this, could I really easily draw a picture so that I'm making Mr. Wilcox understand why I'm multiplying 8 times 16? Okay? And I'll just tell you on the test it's going to be smaller numbers than this, so it'll be easier to draw a picture. Okay? All right, number 6. Okay? Let's say that there are 14 kids are participating in a contest. We want to know how many ways students could go first, second, and third. How many different ways could students go first, second, and third? All right. So this is the first student, right? Second student. Third student. How many of those 14 kids could go first? 14. What? 1? Okay, so it helps if you imagine a room full of kids, right? And you were picking a student at random. Yes, only one will go first, but how many could go first? Right? Does that make sense? All right, 14. All right, so let's say you come into a room of 14 students. You walk in, you say, you, come with me, at random. All right? So that kid goes and he does his contest, right? Can that kid also go second? No. So you come back into the room, at random you pick another student, right? How many could go second? 13, okay? So after that kid is gone, you come back into the room. How many kids can go third? 12. So what am I going to do with these numbers? Add them? No. Multiply them. Okay, 14 times 13 times 12. 2,184. Because here's what you have to remember. There's 14 possibilities there. And so just like back here, right? For every one of those 14, there is 13 branches, right? All right, and then for every one of those 13 branches around each of those 14 circles, there is 12 branches off of those branches, right? So do we see how we could get 2,184 possible branches of possibilities when we have 14 students in 3 positions? Okay, does this make sense? If you understand the idea behind it, do you think you've got a better chance of maybe putting it together tomorrow? Okay, good. All right, 7. Okay. 7 should be pretty easy. They're going to give you 3 graphs they want to know which of these are on each of these graphs, whether or not they're a function. Okay, does that make sense? So let's say I'm just going to draw them all on the same. Let's say A. Let's see, is this a function? All right, so we'd say yes for that. Let's say B, is B a function? No, why not? Because it is a vertical line, right? A vertical line cannot pass the vertical line test. Okay? What about this? Does that pass the vertical line test? Yes. Okay? Let's try some others in here. Let's say, okay, if we're to add a D, does that pass the vertical line test? Yes. Let's say E. What about that? No. Okay. What about F? Does F pass the vertical line test? No. Okay, so we're familiar with multiple types of lines and whether or not they pass the vertical line test. Eric, I mean, I understand that you're kind of a redhead and that you maybe burn easily, but if you're trying to tan, I don't understand the what. Oh, okay, all right. Okay, 8. And I'm just going to go till the bell rings on this, but I'm not going to like spend my free time covering whatever questions I didn't cover. Do we understand? I'll probably get through several of these, but we want to write a quadratic function in standard form that has zeros, let's say 6 and -9. Okay, zeros, 6 and -9. We want to write the quadratic function in standard form. So what we're saying is x equals 6 and x equals -9. We want the quadratic equation, so we want something that says, x squared plus or minus something x plus or minus something equals 0. Okay, so essentially what we're doing is we're working the quadratic equation backwards from the bottom to the top. So I'm going to take x equals 6 and do what with the 6? Minus it, subtract it, move it over to the other side. So that's going to give me x minus 6, right? Equals 0. Okay, and in here I'm getting x plus 9 equals 0, right? And that's giving me 2 sets of parentheses, right? What goes in the first set? X minus 6. In the second set? X plus 9. And now what? FOIL. So I'm getting first what? X squared. Then what? Plus 9x minus 6x minus 54. Okay, now what? Combine like terms. So I have x squared plus 3x minus 54. And we're going to say equals 0. Equals 0 because there will be one of these. Actually, let me double check. I want to see. No, what we want, because there's going to be 2 of them that look really, really similar. I don't really like that they do this. But because they want the quadratic equation, what they're looking for is f of x equals. They want the f of x equals. Okay?
Is that right?
Huh?
Wasn't the answer x squared plus 3x minus 54?
That is not the answer. This is the answer. There will be one that will say equals 0, and there's going to be one that says f of x equals. You want the f of x one. Okay? Sorry, that's why I was double checking the answer. Okay? Number 9. All right. They're going to give you a list of coordinates, and they want to know the range. So let's say yeah, I want to know the range. Can you tell me what the range is? Range is y. -7, -6, -4, -7, -4, and 6. Why that instead of the other? We want them in order from least to greatest. Okay? And we don't need to repeat anything that shows up more than once, correct? Okay. Right? If they were asking for the domain on this, okay, we would use the x values, right? So we would wind up with -7, 3, 4, and 10, right? Okay. All right, number 10. I want to say that there's only 19 questions on this test. All right. On this one, you want to identify the excluded values. Let's see. And then simplify the expression. Let's see if I can come up with one for this. Let's say 64b plus I don't know if this will work out all that well, but we'll try it. Okay? Something like that. Excluded values. How do I find excluded values in something like this? What kind of, what would give me an excluded value? If b, a number for b that causes my what to equal 0? My denominator to equal 0. So what am I going to do in order to find that value of b? 8b plus 5 equals 0. Okay, now what? Minus 5 on both sides. Okay, so I got 8b equals -5. Divide by 8. Okay. All right, so b cannot be -5/8. Is that correct? Okay. Now we want to simplify the expression. Okay, so this is part of my answer. The next part I need to factor out. Okay, and I don't know if I've done a good job of this. I think maybe I have. Okay, I think it'll work. All right, what can I factor out of the top? 8. So if I factor out an 8, what do I have left on the inside? And I'm going to put that back over what? What happens to my 8b plus 5s? They cancel, leaving me with an answer of 8. So this is my second answer. Okay? I need all of that work. Okay? Just because this is a really good example doesn't mean that you can jump straight to an answer and expect to get credit. Okay? All right. Let's see. 11. I think I'm on 11. This one, you want to solve this system of equations by substitution. At least that's what they want. They want something like we have 6x plus y equals, let's say, -6, and y equals, let's say, 2x plus 10. We want to solve through substitution. What does that actually mean in this case? Okay, substitute the 2x plus 10 in for y in the first equation, right? So I get 6x plus 2x plus 10 equals negative 6, right? All right, now what? Combine like terms, so I got 8x plus 10 equals negative 6. Okay. Minus 10 on both sides, so that gives me 8x equals negative 16. Divide by 8, x equals negative 2. Okay? Now, what do I have left to do? Substitute negative 2 for x. Okay? So the easiest place might be just to do it right there, all right? So what's 2 times negative 2? Negative 4. What's negative 4 plus 10? 6. Okay? Let's see. Negative 4 plus, yep, 6. All right, so we get negative 2 and 6. So we understand how to do that. Now, what they're going to look for, though, is that you're going to put this into something that's going to look like this. Okay? Put it in as a coordinate pair. All right. This next one, I'm not probably going to spend a lot of time drawing this up. It's going to give you, well, maybe I will. Something that looks like this. It's, okay. Okay. It's going to want to say, what is this graph continuous or discontinuous? Is it discrete? Is it a function or a relation? What is its domain and range? Okay? All right, so first, is this continuous or discontinuous? Continuous. There are no breaks in it, correct? So it's continuous. Okay? Okay, so it's continuous. Is it a function or a relation? You can't say yes to an either or to an or question. It's a function, okay? Because it passes the vertical line test. All right? Well, let's talk about its domain. Domain is its x values. As far as we can tell, does it stop going left or right? No. Okay. Let's see. So x equals all real numbers, right? Okay. What about its range? Does it have a limit? Let's see. And I'm going to actually do something like that. All right. Is there a limit to the up and down movement that it goes? No. So we would say y is all real numbers as well, correct? Okay. All right. So just be careful as you look down through there, okay? Because some of them will trip you up. All right. 13. We will stop right there. You got 12 out of like 19, and I would study the other review documents to see if there's anything that we didn't cover, because maybe something like that will be on the test. Okay?